And welcome in Dr. Rick Knapp, Alex Wilson, Mike Bettis. This is Weather Unfiltered. Glad you could join us.
Yeah, a lot of people very happy with us this week. Dr. Knapp, I've never had so many people be nice to me. Like, it's great out there. Thank you.
There's been one exception, though. I've gotten some feedback that where was this on Saturday and Sunday? Some of us didn't have.
Fair.
I think going forward in this country, maybe there could be a flexible weekend protocol. If you see the upcoming weekend looking really rotten, you just keep working Saturday and Sunday, take Monday and Tuesday off if the weather's going to be great.
Not a terrible idea, to be honest with you, right? So a lot of you enjoyed some sunshine, some cooler air, not nearly as humid as it has been. You take a look at these maps, though, there are some trouble spots out there, including chances for really heavy thunderstorms and some flooding.
Yeah, especially as we get into holiday weekend. Dr. Knapp, when a lot of people go to Florida, that could be one of our problem spots.
The problem is that front that has made the weather so nice in the east, that front has gone to Florida, and it's going to just sit over Florida. And this time of year, that means it's going to rain in Florida.
Yeah. Just like the rest of us, it gets to Florida and goes, I kind of like it here. I'd like to stay. All right, let's start things off this evening in Southern Miss. You can still get a ticket for about $25. Now, Mississippi State is favored. We'll see how that goes. Noon is the game. A lot of you are parking in front of the TV. I know you're like, you can tell me the forecast this weekend. I don't care. I'm not walking outside. I'm watching a lot of football in Starkville. Thursday, good chance of showers. They'll wrap up early Thursday night. And then by Friday, we've got mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures only in the low 80s. So again, we go with that more comfortable feel for a lot of folks. It's just not going to be as brutally hot as we might expect here in the late part of this month of August into the early part of September. Now, tomorrow into early Friday, we are watching portions of the state of Mississippi as well as a lot of the mid-south for the risk of flash flooding. Darker green, a little better chance of seeing the flash flooding. So Fort Smith, Little Rock, all the way to Starkville, Jackson included, Shreveport, areas on the east side of Oklahoma City. These are all spots with a little better chance of seeing some of that water issues, whether it's water over roadways, small creeks and streams running high. That's what we'll be looking at, something that could affect your travel or your backyard here in the coming days. Now, tomorrow we do have the risk of some severe weather. Wichita Falls to Sherman to Texarkana, Shreveport, Arkadelphia, and McAllister, up to about the I-40 corridor there in the state of Oklahoma. It's the lowest end severe risk, but still the chance for isolated severe storms will be present. There's that system that Mike pointed out into the day tomorrow. So we've got the complex of thunderstorms to start the day. That rolls south as the afternoon wears on. So now we're looking at parts of the Red River. We're looking at sections of Arkansas and also the state of Mississippi. You guys will be bracing for some of those thunderstorms and heavy downpours that accompany those thunderstorms. Even into late Thursday, still plenty of wet weather out there. Could get some gusty winds out of this complex, too. You notice that that setup looking like a line pushing south. That could bring down, some tree limbs. And then Friday morning, we've got heavy rain through sections of Louisiana, Mississippi, into the state of Alabama. We'll be watching places along the Gulf Coast and Florida into the weekend as well. So these upper-level disturbances riding along the jet stream for the later part of the week, they just help to enhance the lift. And that means rain showers become more numerous, more likely, and also we're going to be looking at plenty of rain accumulations to be piling up. That's why we've got to watch for that risk of flash flooding. In Jackson, the rain showers, thunderstorms keep our temps in check. 78 as good as it gets, 76 for Little Rock. Meanwhile, Jacksonville and Atlanta in the mid-80s, 90 in Tampa and Miami. So still hot, still soupy down into Florida. Nashville, you're back up to around 90 for the end of the week. Now, Friday morning into Saturday morning, we watch some of those showers start to congregate around sections of the Gulf Coast and our southeastern states. So by Saturday morning, Dr. Knapp, waking up to the start of your long holiday weekend with some showers from, say, Montgomery to Atlanta.
And that.
Looking ahead to the Labor Day weekend, you may be on boats, you may be on the beach. You're wondering, what's the forecast hold for me? Well, for a place that you're going by car, you can expect some of the worst traffic on Friday, August 29th. Worst time to travel between 12 and 8, so really the entire day, unless you want to go early or you want to go late. Best time to travel would be early. So early bird gets the worm. Truly goes. It tracks this Friday. Friday, we've got rain showers up into sections of the New England states, northern sections of New York. But as Mike pointed out, a lot of areas, including Washington, D.C., are going to be dry. Cooler in Buffalo at 63, 82 for D.C., 70 in Pittsburgh, 79 down there in Kanawha County, West Virginia. So Charleston looking really nice for the upcoming weekend. In Boston, your worst travel day is Monday, the 1st of September. Yeah, we're already there. Hard to believe. Worst travel time will be 12:15 local. Expect a volume increase, basically 101% of what you use. So think of your normal day and then multiply it. It's going to be busy. Again, everybody likes to, milk their holiday weekend all the way till the end. So Monday, it makes sense that everybody gets back on the road at the same time. Now, Friday in Boston, you've got thunderstorms, but the weekend, there's your payoff. 73 on Saturday, 76 on Sunday, and on Monday, tons of sunshine coming our way throughout the upcoming holiday. In Denver, travel day that's the worst is Thursday at noon. Expect an 81% increase in your traffic volume. And Denver, you're going to be up against a chance of thunderstorms on Saturday. Very little opportunities coming Friday and Monday, and Sunday, man. Bottle that up. Highs around 80 with sunshine, morning temps into the 50s. So you get that cool, crisp morning followed by the nice, comfortable, warm afternoon. Top Labor Day destinations if you are going international. Vancouver, Canada, so I guess close enough. And then if you want to go a little farther, Rome, Dublin, Ireland. I was going to wonder if that was for the football game, but everybody went last weekend. London, England, or Paris, France. Because what says Labor Day like a big old baguette? And makes sense that the Superdome hosted the Super Bowl this year, 20 years after Katrina. We look at some of the before and afters of this storm, and as he alluded to, some of the areas were never really built back. The storm over the Gulf on August 27th, 2005, of course, everyone looking at that, knowing what was looming for the communities ahead. Here at the Superdome, of course, all that damage for the folks that were using that as shelter, of course, flooding around the city as well, but that has been built back. We saw in the package there with Justin that a year later they welcomed the Saints back into town, and in years since we have seen big events like the Super Bowl, the Eras Tour. So business is back up and going there in downtown New Orleans. Now looking at the city of New Orleans post-storm, you can see some areas wiped out, many underwater, and some of these spots not necessarily rebuilt. We've kept some green space. Dr. Nab, a lot of areas completely inundated in the wake of Katrina. The flooding was the real horrific story there in a lot of New Orleans.
They said, yes, at one very well-known coffee shop,
yeah.
They said, and I didn't know it's just PSL.
Yeah, no, that's what all the cool girls are calling it, yeah.
Yeah, so.
Oh my God, I got my PSL. Take my picture in front of this leaf pile.
It is ready.
I'm ready for it.
So go for it.
Get ready for the same Instagram picture a zillion times.
They did make sure to say that you can get it hot or iced.
Well, that works for some. In the Pacific Northwest, you may want it iced still. The rest of us, bring it on hot. All right, we're going to talk all about the cool down for some, but we are once again, unfortunately, talking about ruidoso.
And impactful, but what can we learn, or what has been done from a past hurricane that screams from history? You guys got to do something different so we have lesser impacts in the next 25 years. And the first one that gets onto the list, now, by the way, there were 26 retired names in years since 2000. So there are a lot to choose from, but all the ones on my list were retired, including Ada, because when I was that is a heads up that you get a hurricane making landfall just north of Tampa Bay, your water issues are going to go way worse, and Milton was not the worst either.
Absolutely. All right, for 24, we stay in the early 2000s. This one's Isabel from 2003.
Yeah, and this was a serious wake-up call for the Mid-Atlantic, the Hampton Roads area. There was storm surge all the way up the Chesapeake into downtown Baltimore, okay? And that reminds us, you got tropical storm conditions, inland areas, and you've got trees. You got to shelter like you would for a tornado.
All right.
I've seen that since.
Number 23 on your list now.
Let's talk about Dennis. Now, Dennis is seared into my memory from the hurricane operations floor at NHC. It was a Cat 4 just south of Cuba in the Weather Service to push forward on the new storm surge warning, because it became obvious you can't use the hurricane warning anymore to cover for storm surge.
Speaking of tropical storms at all, Allison, the only one on the list that is not a hurricane, but hugely noteworthy.
Yeah, so this is the first ever tropical storm to be retired. So this one has an asterisk.
Number 21 on your list. More recently here, Hurricane Beryl.
Yeah, so Beryl, I think, changes the game in a number of ways. If you live in the Eastern Caribbean, including in the U.S. Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, I think you used to think, well, those Cat 4s and 5s are a peak of season problem. Now they are a June problem. I mean, this is
Coming up a little later on the show, we've got more of our storms and also what went into this guide. What made you rank these? Stay with us.
impactful hurricanes. And a lot of the worst hurricanes are going to bubble up to the top of the list anyway for the other reasons that I ranked them the way I did. But I decided that a top hurricane is a hurricane that screams from the past at us today to say, do something different to save more lives in the next 25 years. Because, you know, a lot of people legitimately go, why are you rehashing the old hurricanes? Why do we have to relive this history? We got a break in the tropics. Let's just enjoy the break. But this is the time to use what we've learned to make outcomes better in the future. And we've got storms from all different parts of the U.S. So you will find a storm on the list that we'll talk about what's being done in your area or what you can do to be safer going forward.
And this is meant to be debatable. This is your personal.
It's very subjective.
What was the harder part for you to do? Was it the top end and ranking them in order, or was it more of the like 20 to 25s?
The two hardest things were getting all of the superlatives, the stats, and the impacts that have been revised and updated, and make it all current so you could do a reasonable comparison between the storms just on their own right. But then also to get updates on what is being done, because there are storms that happened 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago that things that are being done as a result of those storms are still ongoing. And we want to update everybody on what's being done.
You pointed that out with Houston. You said, I'm going to talk about Houston a lot here because you still feel like we could still learn and improve based on a few past storms for future ones.
Yeah. Now, one general observation I have about all these storms in the last 25 years is this has been a way worse 25 years than the 25 years before it. It's been a terrible 25 years for tropical systems, and we've been setting records and then resetting those records, and we have also been learning some lessons and implementing changes to make us safer. For some storms, we did something, and then that made us safer for another storm. But in other cases, we've failed to learn the same lesson multiple times, and we keep getting hit hard in the same way. So that's why it's really important to go through this list and think about, okay, what can we actually do so that the next 25 years, even if the storms are as bad, we have better outcomes.
I know you didn't rank these solely based on, say, like damage that was incurred, but has it surprised you at all that the price tag is going up as significantly as it is with even weaker storms?
Yeah, and that is even the case when you take any storm from the past, many decades, and then you adjust it to 2024. You know, make everything on the same playing field so that we take storms from the 50s, 60s, and 70s and adjust it to $2024. Even when you do that, most of the storms that are in the top tier for damage are from the last several years. So it's not just inflation. It's not just that the past storms didn't have, you know, as much cost at the time in dollars. It's that the storms and their impacts are getting worse with regard to water primarily, and plus we just have more people and stuff in harm's way than we used to.
That's a great point. And, you know, speaking of these hurricanes that you said are over the last 25 years have become more powerful, I also noticed much more of a time range. You know, we've got Beryl and some of these storms from early in the season too.
Yeah, again, we keep setting new records, and in terms of the storms kind of going more and more out of bounds, you know, things starting earlier, getting farther south, farther east, farther north than you're used to. And why does that matter? Because it changes the narrative on when we get ready and where we get ready. Because again, Beryl is a good example, like I mentioned, about how the peak of the season is no longer when you get the biggest, baddest hurricanes. Dennis and Beryl, I think, have changed my mindset about how I message to people about getting ready for the hurricane season. It used to be you'd say, well, get ready in June for the tropical storms that form on our doorstep. Now it's get ready for Cat 4s and 5s in case they happen early.
Are you encouraged at all that states are taking more proactive measures, say like Tax-free holidays, or Florida permanent tax breaks if you buy hurricane supplies.
Yeah, and as we go through this list, you're going to find that some states are doing way more than that. They are building structures. They are changing their emergency management procedures. We've done a lot of things to make ourselves safer, and each storm that we go through will tell some good stories.
Weather Unfiltered coming your way. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson. Of course, our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb, here with us, going through his top 25 hurricanes. It's kind of like preseason football rankings. You know, you're ranking some historic storms, but hopefully we can learn a lesson from these too.
Yeah, another way to look at it with a sports analogy is whenever you get ready for the second half, like we're about to hurricane season halftime, the coach might say, all right, team, remember that time when we were behind? Remember that time we were down? Remember that past hurricane? Remember what we didn't do? This time we're going to do it differently.
Yeah.
And that's why we're going through that list.
It's the meme. Not going to lie. I thought they had us in the first half.
Right.
Now we're back.
You're going to hear more about Dr. Knapp's top 25 coming up a little bit later in the show. In the meantime, we've been barreling toward fall, really comfortable temperatures. That's been really nice. May last into your weekend as well. But also some really hiccups with some really heavy rain tonight.
Unfortunately, we've got the rain into the central U.S. tonight, and then over the holiday weekend, right into Florida.
And it's the same weather system, actually, that comes from the middle of the country into Florida to just make the front that's hanging out there a little more rain producing.
How fun. But, you know, a lot of you are really happy with us because your Labor Day weekend, I mean, this hasn't just been like a little taste of fall. This has been a nice extended stretch.
This is not what I am used to seeing in this country. In late August. This is an early fall.
Yeah, we're taking it quiet in the tropics, and let's keep it that. Keep it that way, Dr. Knabb.
If only this cool weather will last through September. If only hurricane season would stay quiet through September.
We can dream.
We can.
Well, we'll keep those fingers crossed. At least we'll enjoy it in the short home game this weekend, but nice on campus if you are sticking around. Starkville, you've got rain showers Thursday into early Thursday night, but Friday, end of the week, start of your long holiday weekend, we've got a temp around 80 degrees with a mix of sun and clouds. So I think a lot of people are going to like that one. But in the short term, we have the rain showers to get through. So tomorrow into early Friday, risk of rain and flash flooding. Greater the risk, the darker the shade of green. So you can see those areas from, say, southeast Kansas through the western and central parts of the state of Mississippi, even as far east as Starkville. That's where we've got a little better opportunity for seeing some flash flood issues. Also a chance of severe thunderstorms. This is the lowest end risk for severe weather. So when we're talking about levels, a low level risk, I think if anything, some isolated severe storms popping up in this zone, Wichita Falls to Texarkana, Shreveport to about I-40 there in the state of Oklahoma. So moving forward, we've got our thunderstorms to start the day tomorrow. Our complex of heavy rain as well. Parts of Oklahoma, Missouri, sections of Kansas, even into Arkansas. That moves off to the south and east during the day. So tomorrow afternoon, you've got the heavier rain into southeast Oklahoma around Little Rock, south of Memphis, approaching northern sections of the state of Louisiana by mid-evening, middle sections of the state of Mississippi as well for your Thursday evening. So those showers and storms continue to press off towards the south, and heavy downpours possible in there would mean that risk of flash flooding. By Friday morning, we still have some heavy rain focused along that stretch of, say, about like I-20, looking at sections of northern Louisiana, central Mississippi, central and southern parts of the state of Alabama. Could be a real soggy start to your day on Friday. It is the upper level disturbances rolling along the jet stream that are helping to enhance the lift. And when you get the lift, you get that air rising. So more clouds, more showers and thunderstorms developing. So that's why we've got so much coverage and the potential for some heavier rainfall rates. Friday, we've got 78 in Jackson, 76 in Little Rock. So the rain, the cloud cover will keep those temperatures in check. Meanwhile, Atlanta's at 84, Raleigh 85, really nice across a lot of the southeast with plenty of sunshine. Jacksonville 84 with some morning rain showers, 88 in New Orleans. Moving into the second half of your Friday, we're going to watch the Gulf Coast. So moving into the weekend, we've got more rain chances closer to the coastline. So now we get the New Orleans in the mix, the Pensacola, Mobile, and Gulfport. But Saturday morning could even see those rain showers up around Montgomery, as far north, Dr. Knabb, as Atlanta.
And that
weather headed for a lot of the country, at least north as we go into the weekend. But we got to talk travel. We got to talk getting to our destination, right? If you are traveling by car, Friday, August 29th, the worst day to travel. Between 12 and 8 is that bad time. So really the entire day. Early bird gets the worm, as I said last hour. So before 12 o'clock, that's going to be your best time to travel. Let everybody else sleep in. Maybe you're taking Friday all the way through Monday. You're sleeping in on your Friday. Well, if you get up, there's a payoff. You get to beat most of the other drivers. Friday, rain showers, thunderstorms up to the north. So New England, northern New York, but a lot of the mid-Atlantic, a lot of the Northeast, a lot of the Ohio Valley looks absolutely spectacular. Detroit at 68 with sunshine. Charleston 79. Washington, D.C. 82. A little bit more cloud cover in a place like Pittsburgh. You'll see the sun. Highs around 70. Now in Boston, worst day to travel is going to be Monday, right around 12:15. So I think people kind of get the most out of the weekend, and then on Monday, they're like, all right, let's get back. Let's get everything settled. Let's get meal prepped for the rest of our short work week. So everybody's out there on the roads. Expect a 101% traffic increase. But Boston, it's not going to be weather slowing things down on the roads. It is going to be the traffic on Monday, and the weekend also looks amazing. So after the thunderstorms on Friday, we've got Saturday, Sunday, and Monday all offering up really nothing but sunshine and temps in the low to mid 70s, overnight lows in the 50s. As good as it gets. Denver, worst travel day for you is tomorrow around noon, so be aware of that. Expect an 81% increase in your normal traffic. Denver, you've got the chance of thunderstorms. I think greatest chance on Saturday, very small chance Friday and Monday. If you had to pick one day for the outside activities, maybe set up the hammock in the backyard, it's 80, 55 in the morning, or it's Sunday, 80 in the afternoon, 55 in the morning, Mike.
But hammock, you're talking, book me a flight. It's only going to be you book one this late, it's going to be like $7,000.
Yeah, because they know.
Yep.
They find out it's the best weather, and they're like, but meanwhile, you want to go to Tampa? It's cheap because it's going to rain.
Their algorithm gets you.
They're on to me. They're on to me and my nice weather wishes. Well, I'm Alex Wilson. He's Mike Bettis, staying here this weekend. Dr. Nab in the house as well. We've seen quite a bit of wet weather across sections of the West. Woman in Colorado Springs who...
I can't imagine. But first on your list at number 25 was Hurricane Eta. Can you explain to our viewers why that one's on your list?
Well, this is because of where our viewers are. It's a U.S.-centric list, but it does include some significant hurricanes that caused lots of loss of life in the Caribbean. Because, number one, was retired because of the large loss of life in the Caribbean. But there are other things about Eta that I think make it significant even here in the U.S. Number one, it eliminated the Greek naming system because it was the first Greek alphabet name to be retired. But it also had significant water problems in South Florida and in Tampa Bay. And I would urge people in Tampa Bay to look at these images, especially the Tampa Bay area water problems for a borderline tropical storm hurricane that was just offshore and went well to the north of Tampa Bay. If that kind of system can produce that many water problems inside Tampa Bay, and Milton was not it, that was, the surge was to the south. It reminds us how vulnerable we are. So we are not completely ready to evacuate everybody in the Tampa Bay area. Don't fail to evacuate next time because Eta and Milton and others didn't flood you as worse as it could be.
Well, part of the purpose of this list is to learn from past storms, some reminders, what these storms did and how it can help us moving forward. Isabel's one of those because it was a storm that you mentioned brought down a ton of trees and taught us about sheltering during hurricanes.
In addition to that, it showed how far up a river or a bay devastating storm surge can go. It's not just a beachfront problem. The images from Isabel of flooding in downtown Baltimore, I mean, they changed post-Isabel. They changed the evacuation zones and the procedures. So Isabel teaches us, don't think, just be talking about 1933 all over again. So take storm surge evacuation planning seriously post-Isabel in the Hampton Roads area.
Number 23 on your list is a major hurricane that strikes the Panhandle of Florida, but that was a big surge producer.
Yeah, and again, a couple of the criteria that I used in constructing the list were, how really unusual was a hurricane to the point where it changes our thinking at the Hurricane Center at the time, and we were all looking around at one another going, is this September? Are you serious? And before Beryl, this was the earliest major hurricane. And then it changed the game with regard to storm surge because it produced 6 to 9 feet of storm surge in the northeastern Gulf, which has since been hammered many times in tropical storm force winds. And so no more could we lean on the hurricane warning to warn people for storm surge. They were always kind of baked together. That event in Denver.
And there was Allison. You've said Houston comes up quite a bit. We obviously didn't take maybe enough from Allison leading into Harvey, yet another flood maker.
Yeah, and Allison would be ranked number 8 on my list if you only rank them by the direct deaths from the forces of the storm. 41 people died directly from Allison, another 9 indirectly. But we didn't change enough about flood insurance in Houston or mitigation in Houston to get ready for Harvey. So, and Allison, of course, is the only it was the first tropical storm retired by the Hurricane Center.
And speaking of unique, Beryl, the next one on your list.
Yeah, and this is a heads up for 2 places, learning from Beryl. One, Eastern Caribbean, Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, it's not just a peak of season thing anymore to get ready for Cat 4s and 5s. You got to be ready from day one. And in Houston, you take a stronger hurricane on a Beryl track. What are we doing without shutters and plywood on the windows in Houston? We have got so much to do in Southeast Texas. Maybe because I grew up there, I'm picking on them, but there's a lot to talk about to get ready there for the future.
Another hour of Weather Unfiltered coming your way. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson here with our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb. We've got a little break from the tropics and a big break from the heat for a lot of folks.
Yeah, this feels like we have just fast forwarded to late September rather than late August.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And the nice, cool weather could stick around right into your holiday weekend as well. So we'll talk about Labor Day forecast coming up, but also some areas, especially tonight, where flooding could be a big concern.
Yeah, middle of the country, got to watch them closely. And then that overall system offers up a pretty soggy weekend for Florida.
Yeah, so when fronts clear out a lot of places this time of year, usually that means, and then this comes from personal experience, when the fronts come through Atlanta this time of year, in Florida, I know, oh, great, now I'm going to be sitting on the moist southwest side of this front that I know is not going to go through Florida. Man, the rainy season is going to be amped up just in time for the holiday weekend.
Spoken like a bitter Floridian.
Hey, at least there's not going to be a hurricane threat for Florida this holiday weekend. Labor Day weekend in the past in Florida, I remember a lot of hurricane threats. Not this time.
That's a great point. And across parts of the West, we've seen quite a bit of wet weather. Denver looking live at you. We've been light as late, but you still get those, bright and comfortable evenings. Speaking of comfortable temps, look at Friday. By the time we get through our rain showers Thursday and Thursday night, Friday brings a really nice start to the long holiday weekend there in Starkville, Mississippi. 80 degrees for your high, by the way. Mississippi State, they are down in Hattiesburg this weekend. So not a home game, even though I think for a lot of areas you're like, man, it feels like the weather would be real nice. Tomorrow into early Friday, there's our problem time frame because the rain is going to bring the risk of flash flooding as far east as Starkville, as far west as the eastern suburbs of Oklahoma City. So those areas in the darker green have a little better chance of seeing the flash flooding. There's also the risk of severe thunderstorms. Now, it's a lower end risk. I think more than anything, it's an isolated severe threat, but you could get a storm bringing some hail or especially gusty damaging winds. I think that's the prime threat with our complex or cluster of thunderstorms that we start the day with tomorrow. 7 a.m. on Thursday, Wichita to northern Oklahoma, back through sections of Arkansas and northern sections of the state of Mississippi. That's where we've got some of that steadier, heavier rain, and that could really slow down your morning drive. By the afternoon, it's southeast Oklahoma into the state of Arkansas, including the Little Rock metro area, Jackson to Hattiesburg. You've got some moderate to heavy downpours too. Entire complex is rolling south by mid to late evening. So now we've got like the I-20 corridor there in the state of Louisiana southward for some heavier rain. Middle sections of the state of Mississippi, all the way down into the Gulf Coast for the start of our Friday. So Friday morning, Shreveport, Jackson, Montgomery. Friday afternoon, Gulf Coast. You've got the best chances for rain. These disturbances that are enhancing the lift, bringing more coverage of rain and also cloud cover, riding along the jet stream. And so this overall area of rain moves south into the weekend. And by the weekend, with our front setting up there, we'll see higher rain chances across the Gulf Coast. But Friday, temperatures held in check in Little Rock and Jackson because of the rain and the cloud cover. Really nice for Raleigh and for Atlanta. Friday, Atlanta's at 84 with a mix of sun and clouds, 85 in Raleigh. Friday, Afternoon, you see those rain showers setting up a little farther to the south. So now we get New Orleans, Mobile, Gulfport, Pensacola in the mix. Also, parts of Georgia, Atlanta, down towards, say, Macon, Montgomery, Alabama. You guys have a little better chance of rain to start the day on Saturday. And through Saturday afternoon, we'll be watching the Gulf Coast, southern Alabama, a lot of Georgia for those scattered rain showers and thunderstorms. And Dr. Nab, we're also going to be watching a lot of the state of Florida, unfortunately, for the upcoming holiday weekend.
Yeah, because
Coney Island, you look great tonight. Now, forecasts for the upcoming weekend, a lot of areas do look good, and so you may be flocking there, but your travel forecast does say that if you are driving on Friday, got to prepare for some slowdowns. That's going to be the worst time to travel in terms of just people on the roadways with you. 12 to 8, the worst time to travel on Friday. Best time before 12 o'clock. So get up a little early. It's the first day of the holiday weekend. Then you can sleep in the rest of the weekend. But early drivers are going to be fighting a lot less traffic. Now, into the day Friday, we do have rain showers and thunderstorms farther to the north. Northern sections of New York and our New England states. New York City dry at 78. Pittsburgh at 70. Charleston, West Virginia, upper 70s. Low 80s in D.C. And then those upper 60s for Detroit. Low 60s in Buffalo. A lot of comfortable temps across the board. A lot of dry weather across the board too. Now in Boston, worst day to travel is Monday. Luckily, the weather will be nicer. Friday brings the storms. On Monday, we've got plenty of sunshine, but the volume on the roadways, especially right after lunchtime or right around lunchtime, is going to be the issue. 101% of normal volume. Boston, thunderstorms on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We've got nothing but sunshine. Temps in the low to mid 70s, so super duper comfortable for your Labor Day. If you're manning the grill, no problem. It's not too hot. 4th of July, man, that's the one you don't want to man the grill. Worst travel day in Denver is Thursday, the 28th. Worst travel time, once again, right around lunchtime. It seems like everybody gets the most out of their weekend, and then around lunchtime on Labor Day, it's like, all right, we got to get home, do some laundry, get ready for the work week ahead. Traffic volume, 81% increase of normal. Now, Denver, you do have a chance of thunderstorms on Saturday. I think Friday, Sunday, Monday, if anything, very low-end risk of showers and thunderstorms. But Sunday, does it get better than that? 55 in the morning, 80 by the afternoon with a lot of sunshine. And the top Labor Day destinations, if you're like, you know what, I don't want to stay here domestically, I'd like to go international, like Pitbull. Vancouver, Canada, #1. Rome, Italy, #2. Ireland, #3. London, #4. And Paris, #5. I don't know which one I'd pick. I'm not going to go anywhere. I'm going to stay here in the U.S. Yeah.
Filtered on a Wednesday evening. Alex Wilson, Mike Bettis, Dr. Nab will be with us here in just a little bit as well. We know that there's a lot of rain back in the forecast, though, in a few spots.
Yeah, you know, we've seen rain all across the Four Corners region, really a lot of the west. That's left flash flooding, and unfortunately, once again.
But since 2000, in 25 years, 49 Atlantic names have been retired. So that means I had to leave 24 of those off the list.
Right.
Now, partially, this is this leans U.S.-centric because that's who we're mainly talking to, but we do have some international impacts in the mix as well.
It's been really interesting to see our viewers go. I would tell you that track without a name any day. Now, let's start here with #20, Hurricane Irene back in 2011. Probably inland impacts a lot of people remember.
And like Allison, if you just look at the direct deaths from a Vermont issue, it's a Texas issue, it's everybody's issue. We still have to protect people in these types of communities in places like Vermont. They've improved things. You know, 2023's floods, though, up there showed we're still vulnerable.
All right, next on your list is Hurricane Matthew, which made a lot of folks on the Southeast Coast very nervous.
Yes, because look at that track. How close it got to places like Daytona and Jacksonville and Savannah and Tybee Island, places that I think a lot of people thought, no, the hurricanes just don't come here anymore. So when I was at the Hurricane Center, we actually did a special live media briefing just to talk to the folks in that zone to go, this is a highly unusual threat to your area.
Saying one of the storms that I've been in that actually didn't make landfall, but I would argue the worst wind in Daytona Beach out of landfalling storms I've actually tracked.
And a track like Matthew just a little farther west would be so much worse in that area.
All right, number 18. Now we've got Hurricane Rita, so we're going back to 2005, obviously a season packed with storms.
Yeah, and you know what happened in Texas has a lot to do with Katrina because there was a lot of over-evacuation as Rita approached because people saw the images
People were panicked.
from what happened in Katrina. But let's Mr. Child for you don't have to evacuate hundreds of miles. You just have to evacuate few or tens of miles.
Yeah, for sure. Next on your list is Gene.
Yeah, now Gene is another one of those events that is heartbreaking, not just in the U.S., but especially in the Caribbean. It is. Now, we've got Ivan on the list as well. And this is a major, major impact. Cat 5 multiple times.
Our top 25 of the last 25 years with Dr. Rick Knabb. You just recapped for us, Dr. Knabb. 20 through 16. 16 was Hurricane Ivan, which was a multiple-time Category 5 hurricane.
Yeah, this brought back at the time shades of Hurricane Allen from 1980, a Caribbean freight train that went through. Sally came through in 2020. There was a lot less damage, so it was a success.
Something else notable from Ivan, I know that I remember, is the loop, that it came back around.
Yeah, and it was a much less impactful,
Right.
second chapter of Ivan, but I distinctly remember.
Went all the way to New England and came back and made another landfall in the Gulf.
And I can remember like it was yesterday that we had this large staff meeting at the Hurricane Center to talk about was what just came across toward Florida, the remnants of Ivan or not. And we had to really talk it through and look at all the data and what's the remnants of a tropical cyclone. And we came to the conclusion that it was Ivan, and then we reinitiated the advisories over the Gulf. Now, of course, chapter 2 of Ivan was a lot less impactful than chapter 1.
Yeah.
All right, back to Gene now. This, again, the death toll internationally was astounding.
It's tragic. And it wasn't as back toward Florida and during that loop, or even before that, that's when the heavy rains in Haiti happened. So that's why when we were looking at Aaron last week, you mentioned this on the air, Mike, as it goes north of Puerto Rico, these southern rain bands, we really learned the hard way from Gene how devastating those can be. Now, Gene is personal to me because my son was born right after Hurricane Gene. I had to shelter my wife in a hospital, and then it didn't leave, and then it looped around and hit Florida. So when you see a cone like an Henri for the Northeast headed out to sea, things can change. So that is an ongoing lesson to learn from Gene is when the steering currents are a little uncertain, that out-to-sea cone is not necessarily a guarantee.
Well, speaking of lessons learned, we've got Rita from 2005, Matthew 2016, Irene 2011. Which one of those would you say was the biggest lesson maker?
Can you think of Matthew was North Carolina, part 1, before Florence 2 years later. Irene was in the Northeast. But these were not mainly coastal hurricane disasters. They were mainly inland ones.
It's wild, isn't it? Rita, however, an evacuation debacle.
It was. And I hope in the future that everybody nationwide, not just in Texas, learns that you don't have to evacuate to Dallas when you live in Houston. And you'll have a better chance of not needing to do that if you put shutters or plywood on your home so you don't feel like you have to evacuate for wind. But again, please plan your evacuation now for the rest of the season in the future. Find a destination that's only a few miles away, not hundreds.
Yeah, you've told us that. It doesn't require a big drive.
It's here for another hour of Weather Unfiltered. I'm Mike Bettis.
I'm Alex Wilson here with our hurricane expert, Dr. Rick Knabb. We are cruising towards Labor Day weekend. People are over the hump, and some already taking like Friday off for the long holiday weekend. And the weather, we don't have too many complaints, but there will be areas that aren't great.
How many bonus points are we racking up as meteorologists to have really good weather north of this front and not a hurricane threat to the continental U.S. for Labor Day weekend? Both things could be very different in other years.
Jackpot for sure. Now, not everyone will be that way. We do have some issues with stormy conditions. That could include tonight in the plains, and Florida's going to be a prolonged event.
Yeah, I was going to tell you where to send the gift baskets, but then you brought up Florida in the middle of the country. But the taste of fall continues for sections of the Northeast. Yeah, if you are like, well, wait, I'm leaving New York to go to Florida for Labor Day weekend. Swing and a miss.
And that heavy rain and that flood risk in Kansas and vicinity, that same system is headed toward Florida. So if it can produce a lot of rain in the middle of the country, when it gets to the southeast and Florida, it will have more than enough moisture to dump on the rainy season and make it even worse for a holiday weekend.
You bet it. But we got hot coffee coming your way Friday morning across the Great Lakes. We've also seen quite a bit of wet weather, rain, also opportunity for some flash flooding. I'll show you that map in just a second, but I want to show you Friday, what you got to look forward to. 81 degrees by the end of the week with a mix of sun and clouds. So when we get through the rain, we've got a nice payoff day. All right, tomorrow into early Friday, that's the rainy day. And of course, that's also the day that's going to bring the chance of some flash flooding. The darker the shade of green, the better the chance of flash flooding. And so you can see Kansas, Oklahoma, much of the state of Arkansas, into a good chunk of the state of Mississippi. That takes us up to about the Starkville area. Those are the spots where we've got a little higher likelihood of seeing some of that flash flooding. Now, tomorrow, also a risk of severe weather. It's going to be a more isolated risk, but a risk nonetheless. I think gusty winds would be the primary threat out of these storms. Watching I-35, I-44, 40, 30, 49. So plenty of interstates and plenty of, towns, communities that could see a storm with not just some heavy rain, but also some gusty winds. Tomorrow morning, we wake up to some heavy rain across parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, and Missouri. Also a lot of Arkansas. You can see that almost like diagonal line right through the state. Little Rock area, morning commute into the afternoon hours will be soggy. I think your afternoon drive looks a little worse than the morning drive. Pockets of heavy downpours. That's why we've got the flash flood risk for a lot of these areas. Slowly sinking southward through late Thursday and into Friday. But notice some of these areas get another round of rain kind of building back into the north. And we wake up to really heavy rain across northern Louisiana, parts of Mississippi and Alabama early Friday. That overall area sinking south during the day Friday. And so Friday later in the day through the weekend, parts of the southeast Gulf Coast will have the best chance of rain and thunderstorms. Upper level disturbances, they help to enhance the lift. So they get the air rising, we get the clouds, we get the rain showers, the thunderstorms. Those are rolling along the jet stream. So we go from portions of the plains to the mid-south, eventually to the southeast and Florida. Friday, Atlanta, dry, 84, 85 in Raleigh. Meanwhile, clouds and rain showers keep temperatures in check for Little Rock and also for the Jackson area. Only upper 70s for those spots. Houston, meanwhile, hot and steamy, 96 your high there in East Texas. Friday afternoon, now we get New Orleans, Gulfport into play. That continues into Saturday morning. I actually think Saturday morning brings better chances for wet weather for some of those cities along the Gulf Coast. We're also looking at a lot of Alabama and Georgia for some rain showers to start your Saturday. Now, Saturday afternoon, Gulf Coast areas of Florida. Notice more into the central U.S. too. So we've got another round coming back in for parts of the western and high plains. Drought monitor at last check. You can see some of these areas running in the lower levels of drought, more of the dry to moderate drought. So rainfall would help. I know the timing isn't ideal for a lot of spots, Dr. Nab, especially the folks that are headed to Florida.
Yeah.
The roller coaster doing its thing. So pretty view. I think a lot of people will be headed there for the Labor Day weekend. They should do a Labor Day eating contest. We obviously have, the hot dog eating on July 4th. But what do we eat? Like sloppy joes. I want to see people absolutely hammer down on some sloppy joes. That would not feel good after the fact. All right, Friday, August 29th. That is going to be the busiest day for you if you're traveling by vehicle. Worst time, busiest time between 12 and 8 o'clock. So the best time? Get up a little early. I know a lot of people are like, but it's my first day off. I'm so tired from the work week. I want to sleep in. Just be prepared that you'll have to sit with a little bit more traffic on the roadways. If you want to try to dodge some of that, you get up a little bit early. I don't like to get up early, so I'd be like, I'll just have a good playlist. All right, we've got other areas to watch, and Dalton, for some reason, there we go. Sometimes all you have to do is ask. It's like when you call IT to your desk, all of a sudden your computer's going to start working. It won't work for 4 hours, but when you bring the IT guy over, then it starts working. So the second I say Dalton, now the computer goes. Burlington, 67 with thunderstorms on Friday. Boston, thunderstorms on Friday. Bangor, you could see some activity. The rest of the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley, even Great Lakes looking generally good. Maybe a few showers there into northern West Virginia, southwest PA. So like right around Morgantown, temps are pretty comfortable, though many in the 60s and 70s, even some low 80s for places like D.C. In Boston, you've got the rain and thunderstorms on Friday. Monday, lots of sunshine for you, but that is your worst travel day. So you get out, you enjoy your whole weekend, and then on Monday, you pack up the car, get back on the road, and find out everybody else was thinking the same thing. Right around lunchtime is the problem time, a traffic volume of 101% increase. sunshine Saturday, sunshine Sunday, sunshine Monday. So after the rain and thunderstorms on Friday, yeah, that one day brings a little bit more wet weather. Man, you've got a really nice weekend on tap with those temps staying very, very comfortable. So if you're headed to the shore, if you're headed to town or staying in town, you're going to have it good either way. Denver, worst travel day for you is Thursday. Worst travel time is lunchtime. We got an 81% increase. So, again, I think everybody's looking to get out of town around the same time. Denver, we, of course, have seen the showers and thunderstorms out there today. By Friday, mostly cloudy, very low-end risk, isolated risk of a shower. Saturday, better chance of some afternoon thunderstorms. Sunday and Monday looking really good for your Sunday and Labor Day holiday itself. Morning temperatures both days into the 50s, afternoon highs in the lower 80s.
So there's a little crossover right now, maybe.
Yeah. And you can't have beans at a tailgate. Have you ever seen a football stadium bathroom? You just can't do that. You have to have beans at home. Beans stay at home.
There are a lot of beans at tailgates.
That's true.
So
We'll see.
Maybe you need to be like the bean police at stadiums and be like, hey, what are you doing, man?
I'm going to go this weekend and try to eat as many beans as I can.
Oh, you're going to fight fire with fire.
I'm going to be the bean queen, and it'll be like my social media thing. Like, hey, I'm Alex. I'm the bean queen. Do you have any beans at this tailgate? And I'll just eat as many beans as I can, and then I'll miss the game.
That's going to be a very explosive.
It will. It's hard-hitting news.
What just happened?
I look forward to it. Well, again, it's the last of the bean holidays, so you've got to, well, at least the baked bean holidays.
Right. What are the other bean holidays? Oh, jelly